So we've taught our children, we were taught as infants to say hello and goodbye.
I realize not every person who dies is celebrity, but they're special.
Yeah.
They mean something to somebody, and they just want to share their story. And we help them do that. That's kind of a really cool thing.
The most special things you can have in a funeral, the things that you'll always remember about the families, are the things that actually don't cost any money.
Death has been something that people have tried to isolate, and we're saying it needs to be integrated, to integrate it into life so that the person, it's not a reincarnation or something like that. It's just recognizing and honoring and facilitating the natural circle of life.
Undertaking the podcast is brought to you in part by Garfield Refining. For over 129 years, Garfield Refining has been recycling metal for businesses and crematories across North America. Regardless if your crematory does 100 or 10,000 cremations per year, Garfield ensures a seamless process and the highest values in the industry, resulting in additional funds that you can put back into your facility or donate to a charity close to your heart. Garfield will send a steel-lined drum to store and ship your metals free of charge. Their experts help with metal capture and can schedule a pickup for busy owners and operators. And for a limited time, let them know that you came from Undertaking the Podcast, and Garfield will provide a complimentary Yeti tumbler after your first shipment. To get started, call 800-523-0968 and ask to speak with one of their crematory professionals. Or you can check them out online at garfieldrefining.com/crematory. Garfield Refining, providing businesses with premier metal recycling solutions since 1892.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of Observations from a Hearse. Wow, it's Brian Waters, and this is not my show. And I've got class outside because I've got Robert Falcon on the line in Austin, Texas. You're grilling, sir. Welcome to your own show.
Good evening from my...
Hang on, I have to shut everybody up. Sorry.
Oh, you have applause now.
I do. Just for you, sir. Welcome this evening. It's nighttime here and Eastern time. You're just an hour, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm an hour behind you. It's actually, I'm just standing out here in my backyard, and it's just starting, sunset getting ready to happen, and it's just it's been a really beautiful day here in Central Texas.
Nice. It's been beautiful here too. I worked, most of the friends worked, and got back, did housework, and now it's time to sit. I'm outside. I don't want to say I don't often podcast outside, but not by the fire. So this is a first for your show, for me. So take it away. Observations from a Hearse, Robert. What do you want to do?
Man, it's been a week, hasn't it?
Yeah, sure has.
Let's have a little discussion. I mean, we lost some people we know this week.
Craig?
Yeah, Craig McGuay, a funeral director and embalmer in just outside of Lexington, Kentucky, passed away. Of course, this is now about 2 weeks ago. I know his funeral was, I think they had a service last Sunday, and this past Monday was his burial service. And Craig was, an extremely humorous. I loved his humor. And, of course, I never got to meet him. We shared a few phone calls, and especially around the time when his cancer was diagnosed a few years back. And we never could get our schedules together to meet, even the times that I visited Lexington, Kentucky. And, I was just really kind of, I heard the news very early in the morning when I woke up, and started to kind of look at some of the memories that were being left and what was being said about him. And a lot of people who he mentored and people who took time to share a memory. And, that was really, kind of a cool thing to sit there and read, the impact that we have on one another. And, unfortunately, sometimes it happens. We say these nice things about people when they die.
Yeah, you and I have talked about that, and I think most funeral directors know that there's a bit of a window of sentiment that right after a sudden death, well, I mean, folks transcend a little bit. They elevate in our minds the good deeds that they did, and we choose to remember them fondly in a way. But there's a bit of there's dichotomy to that. There's light and dark to everybody. So we tend to go toward the light. And I think that's a positive thing, but it's something that I observe.
Yeah, we also lost Ty Durkees, a funeral director and embalmer, owned a funeral home in Ohio. And Ty, again, another one of my Facebook friends, and I always enjoyed his musings and his post, and he was always liking stuff that I was posting. And you go and you read the comments, and it's again people thanking him for his mentorship. So, two incredible people that impacted people in funeral service, and we may not even understand the measure of that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this week, Toby, that
was just announced today, I believe, on social media, whatnot, that Toby Day, a friend of ours, through undertaking the podcast through Cincinnati College of Mortuary Science, who's been a long supporter of us here and just friends of ours with Todd Van Beck and President Jack Lechner. And, the dean, I could just name them all, if I had the list. Sorry, y'all. Let's be real. But I know them by face, and it's just sad. And
and I got to meet Toby while I was in Indiana this year for the Indiana State Convention, and we had dinner the night of the Isaac Ball dinner, and I enjoyed the visit with him there at our table, and again, you're just I guess sometimes as funeral professionals we're so immune to being around death, and then when it affects us, when it hits us, people that we know, people we interact with professionally, and all of a sudden they're just taken away. And so, for a little bit, we get to kind of be like that grieving family as well. I would encourage anybody, as a funeral professional, if you haven't lost a family member, it sucks.
I am sitting next to our ambulance barn, I suppose. That's Medic 31 here in northern Delaware County. So let us send good vibes out there for a lift assist or something. Cat in a tree. Let's send the heroes for Ryan Ballard there.
Ryan, we see you, buddy. We see you.
Yeah. I tell you, it's right now the tone in funeral service is that everything is heavy. And I don't know if it's my observation being pandemic, just distaste, where it's so tiring. And I think I've made comment on the show that Generation Gaslight is over. And I think Generation Gaslight is a combination of just people who choose to point at daylight and say, boy, it's dark, we better go to sleep. And the rest of us go, nah, not anymore. And you can take that for what it is. It happens to all of us. And it's just tiring these days to just work in death care, feeling unseen, unappreciated. There's talk about the FTC and all the, they had a big ordeal. We observed that, and it was very scripted who was selected. And I didn't see a lot of people that were managing directly 7 trailers of people. It was a very select group for a very select purpose, and we will be observing this over the next coming years. So, Robert, take your show back, pal.
And the FTC thing is a really interesting thing. Brian, it baffles me. I got into the funeral business.
Hold. There is something in the sky, Robert. I cannot tell you what it is. It is a straight line. I'm looking straight at it. Should I film it? I don't know what to do, Robert. It is long. It is a row of something. And it is dumb. I don't know what this is. I'm going to try to film. I'm going to hang up on you, pal. I got to hang up.
Okay.
This is nuts.
Okay. All right.
Guys, I'm still recording here, but I'm going to try to film. There we go. There we go, folks. Eaton, Indiana. I'm live on a podcast. There's a straight row of lights, folks. It is a straight line. Welcome. That is a straight line, folks. I gotta. Whew. What is that? There you are. I'm zoomed. I got light in the background here, guys. I gotta move. I'm coming back in, folks. Dropped all the equipment. Oh dear. That's the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Okay. We're still recording. I'm gonna call him back. That could have been a rocket. Yes, it could have been a rocket. We're plugged back into the phone. Let's go to the video. Dear God, did I get it? I stared at it too long, guys. There's a still shot. There's something else. Oh, yeah, there we go. We got it. Yep. This video sucks. Oh, no, it's not bad. That is not bad, folks. Oh, I got it. Oh, my God. Oh, this is so dumb. Okay, I'll just text that to Robert. Okay, hang on. Let's get him back on the line. Hang on.
You've reached a personal cell phone.
Oh, come on, man. I take over Robert's show in the backyard. My wife's texting me. My son is crying in bed alone. Yeah, I'll send the kid out here, man. Yeah, let's go ahead and text Robert the video. So here I am sitting in my backyard. I am facing northwest, talking to Robert. I got a 55-gallon drug fire in front of me, and I looked up to the southwest, west-southwest. It's dark. Not a cloud in the sky, folks. The sky's beautiful. It's party night. When I say party night and eating, that means everyone has... hang on. Text Robert the UFO, Brian. There we go. Okay. Call me. Okay, so yeah, Robert, look at the video and then come back on the show, you weirdo, and then let's see what happens. Okay, yeah, I'm sitting under a fire, man. This is kind of cool. It's just a middle. This is weird, guys. It was miles long. That up in the sky, that object was 5 miles long. 5 miles at 30,000 feet, maybe less than 30,000 feet. It looked like, I saw nothing else though, just a row of lights as perfectly equal, some flickering. It looked like planes in a row with one light on, but it wasn't commercial planes. It wasn't commercial planes at all. That's nuts. Come on, Robert. Put your stuff on the grill and then call me back. I really don't want to...
Unidentified flying object?
Did you see the video?
No.
It's on its way. I will let you be the judge, but I sent you the video. It's 45 seconds long. It was right when I hung up with you. So, I've been explaining it on your show, so sorry about that. That was an observation, Robert. That's
a true observation.
And I've got the photographic. Well, no. I will not say that, but it's coming your way. It might be my slow data rate, but I am on Wi-Fi, so it's coming your way. So, what a hell of a distraction, Robert. Maybe you've seen something because, hey, aren't you near Andrews? I thought there was an Air Force base down near you guys.
Well, we used to have one here. It's actually the airport that you fly into in Austin. That used to be Bergstrom Air Force Base, which was actually a SAC base back in the day. And then, of course, we have Randolph and Kelly Air Force Base down 80 miles from us in San Antonio. So,
well... I don't know what to say, pal. That we got that on recording. I got a clip, and then You can have your show back because there's really nothing else to say about it.
Well, I'm trying to open it up to see.
It's different.
Wow. What a
Wow.
light show.
Okay.
The X-Files with Brian Waters and Robert Falcon.
Now the problem is, Robert, it was getting so far away. It moved decently quick, not like fast, but normal speed. But I was losing it because the lights were just, and I was kind of freaking out, so I didn't get anything in there to like qualify it. Not that I really care. What are you going to do? Be like,
Well,
still nothing.
It's dusk here in Central Texas, so.
Well, it went the other way, Robert, so we're sending it to Baltimore. So anyway, let's pick up where we were. We were noting those that we lost, and here's the thing. You were talking to mentorship. People have no idea the impact that they have on others, truly. I don't think. Do you?
You know, I don't think so. And again, we have such... There's been this paradigm shift within funeral industry here in the last few years that I want listeners to understand that if you're paying somebody for advice, that's not a mentor. That's a consultant.
Or a life coach. Ooh, yeah, it is a consultant.
Yeah.
I do that.
It's a consultant.
Actually, I don't do that. I consult for free, Robert. That's ridiculous. Continue.
And if the person is really kind of taking the time to explain things to you and you're not getting a bill prior to it or just after it, that's a mentor. A mentor is somebody who is willing to take the time to kind of put you underneath the wing and kind of show you some things. And, I was very, very fortunate in my formative years of coming up in the funeral industry to work with some really fantastic people and have some really solid mentors in my life. And even today, 37 years in and at 55 years old, I still have a few people I reach out to for advice every once in a while and talk to and maybe shoot something, just to bounce an idea or to ask how to handle something I may have not seen. And those things, that's what a true mentor is about. I really enjoyed walking the floor in Las Vegas this past week at the convention and just putting people on the spot and asking them to recognize somebody that was a mentor, somebody that they wanted to say thank you to and recognize for being that person to them. And I think we got some pretty good interviews with that.
Yeah. This Vegas was definitely different without Ryan Ballard and filling his role as an entire team with you, Andrea Stodgel, and Grant Inman from My Funeral Home Stories, and then other guests as well. We had a completely different event where we were separated and focused, and we didn't go for the pile of interviews. We have a few pointed ones that, we're kind of dancing around. We're not just gathering all the data that we possibly can and then getting overwhelmed like we do, because we still have data. We have unreleased episodes of those, some friends that have died, right? Van Back and some others, I don't know. Focusing on that mentorship is where I wanted to kind of pinpoint my focus, because where I look for mentorship is kind of where everyone looks for mentorship. And I think you can spot it in a couple ways. You approach someone with respect because they hold some sort of authority, whether it's experience, time in funeral service, maybe it's their experience in owning businesses or consulting, whatever their field is. You approach them from kind of a spirit of humbleness and saying, please just give me a nugget of what you may know, and I will be grateful and run away and cherish it. But we don't always find true connection there. Sometimes it's just in someone in passing that gives you their attention. You know what I mean? And I can say that from a lot of our guests that have given myself and Ryan and our friends their attention, and it's so meaningful. We want to hold that delicately,
Yeah. Well, we never realize how much something means to us until we lose it. And I think that's, something we see as funeral professionals every day. Um, you know, if you had a nickel, think about this, Brian. How many times have we stood by a casket at the end of a service? How many times have we stood at that bedside in a nursing home or residence when we go on a first call? And we hear that love, you know, it's always that one person that leans over and kisses and says, you know, Daddy, I love you. Mama, I love you. And we see that. We see those little tender moments. And at that moment, it's so late because daddy or mom can't say I love you back. And we sometimes forget about what we have in front of us sometimes as opposed to when we lose it. And we are no more immune to the same dynamics and the same things that families go through because we're going to go through it at some point. You know, I've shared very openly and honestly on 2 episodes of all the emotions and everything of dealing with my mother and my father. And then, you know, to have that compounded, you know, losing mom in December of 2018, and then not even a year later, December 2019, losing my dad, and then making it through COVID in 2020, and then March or May of 2021, losing my father-in-law, and then May 2022, we lose my mother-in-law. And so not only was I thrust twice as the funeral director for my parents, then I'm leaned on by my other side of my family to be the funeral director to my in-laws, but also then I had to be a husband to my wife, and I had to be a father to my kids who were hurting and grieving. And yet we then have to go right back to work. And so we as funeral professionals, I think sometimes suppress some of that stuff, and it's okay to let it out. And as you and Ryan and we've talked, you know, if you hear us in podcast land when we say we see you, that's what we mean is we're here kind of reaching out to you and trying to build that support network for us as caregivers, us as funeral professionals, to help one another and not tear each other down like we do.
That's right.
That's ridiculous.
That's right. I mean, and I know you'll be having an observation from a hearse tomorrow that you'll probably tease here in a little bit. And I want to ask you something. I want to get your observation before we tease that. I think this is very important because I was recently talking to a coroner, and he literally redirected me by sharing his experience. And I said, you got to tell this. And that, of course, is not ready. But the way, when we segment death care and how we interact with humans, we hear those screams, right? Ryan talks about it. I talk about it. Every funeral director has a story of those screams, right?
Yeah.
Well, this coroner was telling me that he just drew the card of the hard notifications over and over and over a long period of time, and then transitioned into a new coronership, and it kept going, and it stacks, and it leaves a mark and moment in time. We hear them all, right? But what happens when they are all screams, and they are all screams of grief and just ripping apart a connection, that's all you do. And then he said this to me. He goes, at least they know why you showed up. And I went, oh boy. So I wanted to ask you this observation. When you go to notify someone of the death, is there a right way, a wrong way let's not do that. Let's not do right way, wrong way. What in your experience works for you?
Well, I'm glad you're not saying there's a right way and a wrong way, because there's, you know, it's just how you approach the situation. Everybody reacts so differently. I think I shared with you I'll just share this, I think I shared this before, but you've met my little brother. He's a funeral director also. He's 10 times the funeral director I am. And when we lost Mom, he was right there with me as we took Mom from the bed in our childhood home, And we transferred her to our funeral coach, and I went back to the funeral home that evening and prepared my mom. But during the next few days, as we went through the planning of the funeral ceremony, he wanted nothing to do with it. And he's a funeral director. He's just like me. He has the same credentials and the same license. And we had a very frank discussion shortly before our mom passed away, and I pulled him aside and I told him, this is something that we're going to go through together, and how blessed we are. And to think about, to put it in perspective of what we were getting ready to undertake for our mom, is that for the many years that we've been taking care of families, it's been people that we knew, it's people that we grew up with, it's friends of ours that we went to grade school and high school with, and they're calling us to take care of their mom or their dad or their brother or their sister, and they've trusted us to do that. And we have been there for them, and when at the end of the funeral, we're standing there, and after everybody leaves, the family gets in their cars. We stay there at the cemetery, and we watch the casket go into the ground. We watch the lid being placed onto the grave liner or the vault. We watch the grave being backfilled, and we stay there. And there's other friends of ours that have asked us to cremate their loved ones, and they're not there at the crematory the day that we place their loved one into the crematory and cremate. They trust us to do that. But yet, here is an opportunity that we're going to have that nobody else can take away from us, because we're her kids, but we also have this license sitting in our pocket that gives us the ability to care for her like nobody else can. And it was his decision to not participate. But again, we all kind of deal with death differently, and we grieve. And I very, very vividly remember the night that Daddy came over to the funeral home to see Mom for the first time, and we got her set up, and my brother literally walked up to the casket, and you could count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. He turned around, walked out the front door of the funeral home, got in his car, and he left. Is that wrong? No.
Oh, we said Jinx. No, it's not wrong.
And so, again, here we deal with it daily, and how we separately dealt with the loss of our parents is completely different. And how my wife and how her family dealt with the loss of their parents was completely different than the way my family dealt with things. As a funeral professional, I sat there and respected decisions and did what I needed to do to make sure that the casket got to church on time, that everything was taken care of, details were made, the musicians were there, the priest knew exactly what scriptures we wanted, getting the police escorts arranged for my father and for my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, and my mom, and all those details that we take care of behind the scenes. We were still doing those movements, but this was for our family.
Yeah.
And when families ask me, what did we do different? We didn't do anything different for our family that we do for another family, other than the only thing I ever did different was I kissed my mom after I embalmed her. And that's it.
Yeah. And well, there's a lot to cover there, Robert. I think the first part is what we find is we're the same as everybody else.
That was my post, my observations from a Hearse before we left, before I jumped on a plane and left Sunday morning to go to Las Vegas was exactly that point.
Okay.
And
yeah, right.
We talked about we talked about the picket fence. Yep. Exactly. And I think so many funeral professionals need to understand that the guy down the street, just because his picket fence is a little bit different than your picket fence, it's his picket fence and he's proud of it. And it may not be your picket fence, but it's his picket fence. And I'm standing out here in my backyard in Austin, Texas, and on one side of my yard, I have a chain link fence because my neighbor has a chain link fence. On the other side of my yard, I have a wood fence because my neighbor to the north of me has a wooden fence. And so that's what they decided. I don't sit here and piss and cry to them. Go, oh golly, you have this ugly this ugly wooden fence. When are you going to fix this slat? Or you have this ugly chain link fence on the other side of my yard. It is what it is. This is the house that I live in. This is where I didn't. Those fences were here long before I moved into the house.
I think all of us like that. I think we protect what we cherish and what we have a connection with. And in our death rituals, we want to express and connect with those things that are important to us. So even us funeral directors look for opportunity to express ourselves in sacred ritual, whatever that means. When I say sacred ritual, someone goes Catholic Church, and I'm thinking bonfire right now, since I'm sitting out in the yard watching UFOs, but intentional time spent with people you care about. That's what a funeral is. Everyone's like, oh, those aren't fun. I'm like, really? Okay. I like my friends. So I'm not sure what your funerals are like, but ours are they suck. We really hate to do them, but at least we do them with people we love. So, there's that, and I think the funeral directors tend to grade each other on our own funerals as well. It's like, oh, you're a funeral director. You're supposed to set the standard of what a funeral is supposed to be like. And I look at them and I go, okay, tell me which products I have to buy to please you, Mr. Funeral Director. Because if you don't buy enough, you didn't do it right. And I'm like, dude, I got a tree in my backyard I could tell you about for someone who never really existed long. But
now, I will say this. I have a policy, and I've stuck to my policy that I do not go to funeral services that are conducted by other funeral homes. So I have missed some funerals for people that I know.
You're thinking generally locally, though, right?
Yeah, locally. And again, Austin is a big city. It's a big. I mean, we are a big, bustling city, but Austin is still a very small town. I am a unicorn. I was born and raised here in Austin. I didn't move here from somebody just because the buzz about Austin, Texas, and you needed to move here and it's a cool city. I have roots here, and my family has deep, deep roots here. But the one thing is I carved this policy because number one, it's not my place to go to somebody else's funeral and sit there and then somebody goes to me and say, well, are they supposed to do that? Are they, well, what about this? What about that? Well, number one, I didn't sit in on that arrangement conference. I don't know what was discussed. It's not my business. And the other part of that is it's not my business. I didn't have a part of it. So if it's not my funeral company doing the funeral, I am not privy to anything. So guess what? The best policy is it's not my business.
Well, I mean, in a way, you were not invited if you're local, so I get it. Yeah, totally.
Well, and you're in a small town. You have a competitor in one of your towns that you operate in. Do you get your feelings hurt because somebody that you know and you play golf with regularly and all of a sudden they use the other funeral home in town? And then you're going to see them the next time you're out socially? And, again, they called the other guy because they felt like that was the guy who was best to take care of them. Don't get your feelings hurt. The phone's going to ring again and you're going to take care of another family.
Oh, I'll promise you it'll ring, and it'll be about a death certificate Saturday night at 9, and you will be grateful, and because it's really okay,
Well, I think we fixate so much on all of this crap about how important we are, and because our name is on the cot covers and our name is in the hearse and our name is on the front of the building, and we build this faux persona about ourselves, and it's only faux to so many people who see the value in what they want to do. But if we can't respect what a family wants to do and respect their decisions to go elsewhere, by all means, please be well served.
Yeah, I prefer to be discreet and not write my name on my... That's just me, though. I'm teasing. Anyway, that's a...
So, and to kind of circle back on all of this, Brian, there's a funeral home just north of the city here. They will never say it. They will never give it credit. They wouldn't have gotten opened up at the time that they got opened up had I not loaned them an embalming machine and an embalming table to be able to pass inspection to get into business. There's a funeral home across town who needed a funeral coach one day. They were in a jam. They called me and I said, please come get it. Please use it. Just fill it up with gas, wash it, and bring it back to me. There's funeral homes that have called me in the middle of the night because they've had a van break down on the interstate. And we've sent our staff graciously out there to help them. And I'll do anything to bend over to kind of help somebody who needs that help. But at the end of the day, the guy that's across town that's tearing you down, that's not constructive. That's not being a funeral professional. And that is so much of what I see that happens.
Well, I mean, if you look at the way we talk about each other, it's no wonder our communities go, ugh, why do you want to deal with a funeral director? They just grumble about each other. It's like,
yeah,
I get it. Yeah, I wouldn't want to hang out with us either sometimes. So,
and instead of, hey, I'm here to take care of you, but if you call the other guy in town, hey, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I hope they took good care of your family and served you well, and be able to go on to the next day. I mean, it's not the end of the world.
It's not. Well, I mean, I got it on film, and it is not the end of the world, because I am literally posting that and claiming that as not identified, because that was weird, Robert. Mr. Ballard is on deck. He's starting to buzz the phone, going, "You okay, buddy?" And I'm like, "I'm not going to text you back. I'll just call you." So, let's kind of roll it out. I mean, as we think about caring for our own family members, we want to support folks in doing that. And if you just need someone to stand by, you can call a funeral director. If you don't have a funeral director buddy that you can call that will show up and be like, "I got you," in case you don't, you need one. So that's why you need a network of friends. That's my observation outside of UFOs are kind of real on my cell phone.
Well, and the day after my mom passed away and word got around town, there's 17 funeral companies in the city of Austin. Now, mind you, we have a lot of corporate funeral homes here. We are proud to be one of only 4 family-owned funeral companies left in Austin, Texas. But just food for thought.
And dude, I just hung out with all the corporate types in Vegas, so this is awkward.
So 17 funeral companies in the city of Austin, and the day after it was made the rounds that my mom passed away, only 2 funeral directors, 2 funeral companies reached out to us and said, "Hey, we're very sorry to hear about the loss of your mom. Is there anything that we can do? Can we send people over to answer the phones? Can we do anything for you? Let us know." Two funeral homes.
That's a shame. Here in Indiana, you as our honorary District 10 director, you know that it's kind of a hug fest here, and when I know a fellow Chad here just lost his dad, and I missed the funeral. Even as a funeral director, I missed the funeral. I don't take the paper either, just like everyone else. Like, they don't deliver it here. Like, half the time it's in someone else's road. I'm going to go New York comedian here, but I'm saying, like, I kind of kicked myself because I didn't go, but I would have went if I didn't have a connection, I would have went as a district director of IFDA. So now it's kind of one of the things I think we're doing here, Robert, is kicking off a letter campaign. Like, writing letters is kind of cool, and I'm going to be doing that as a thank you to some folks. So anyway, thank you for letting me be a guest on your show.
I think what we need to do to move forward as I think now where I'm at in funeral service, and after 37 years, and I'm at a very seasoned portion of my job. The funeral industry is a very unique industry that, I have a lot of friends that I grew up with, and they're all retiring from their jobs right now. They're going into that second season of their life, and they're retiring, and they're starting to go out and enjoy all the spoils of working for a company. Now, number one, how many people really work for a company 20, 25 years nowadays? That's not the normal anymore. And the other part. Well, and to bring value of what we do as a funeral professional, the more years you have as a funeral professional servicing a community or servicing families, you become more valuable because of the relationships you build with that community and you build with those families. And so I'm at that point in my career now. It's no longer, hey, call this guy, I went to high school with him, or I grew up with him, or I know him. It's now these very personal calls that are coming in of people that I really know very intimately and have interacted with and had dinners and dinner parties and stuff. So you become much more valuable your years into funeral service as opposed to somebody who's built just working a job for 20 years and they're going to take retirement and move away. And so to those younger funeral professionals that are listening, that's the best advice I can give you is you need to be steady and stay the course and understand that you're building something. It's building a wall of care for your community, or a tree that's going to continue to grow. I'm standing here in my backyard and I have the most beautiful pecan tree. And it is a mature, just gorgeous pecan tree. I lost part of it in the last snowstorm that we had here in Central Texas, and it's trying to come back. And if you know anything about pecan trees, they only bear fruit every other year. So sometimes the pecan crop is good, sometimes it's not. And of course, when the pecans are really good, then because I have this big, huge tree in my backyard, the squirrels show up. And they like the pecans, and my dogs like chasing the squirrels, and it provides a lot of just kind of backyard relaxation.
Yeah, my attention.
And but this tree took time to grow. It took time to grow to be able to do what it does and bear fruit. And that's what we have to learn. We want so much of this instant gratification, and look at me, I'm a professional in this community and I'm going to do something. I have been here for 30 plus years, and I've had so many people come into this community and they were going to do all these grand things, and they're gone. They're gone. And I'm still here doing what I do, and I don't do it just to be boastful or for proudness. It's done because I have a genuine, deep-seated commitment for what we do in Central Texas and what we do for families here. And the next time the family calls me that needs me tonight, the family needs me tomorrow, we want to be there for them. And we want them to understand that the person that they called is going to invite them into the little white picket fence, and we're going to take care of them for a little bit.
I like it. Well, Robert, let's wrap. Ryan Ballard has been standing on deck. He's been swinging the bat with the weights there. I don't think he's much of a ball player, and it's not leg day, so he's going to get real impatient. So, Robert, thank you for your observations. We'll be looking for your posts shared there on the Undertaking the Podcast Facebook page as well. We got some fun stuff coming up. I got some great interviews on tap. I'm very, very blessed to know a lifelong friend of mine who's a professional golfer, and we're going to sit down and talk, and you're going to hear the inside story of standing on the tee in Phoenix, Arizona, watching a very unknown guy, kidding, very tongue-in-cheek. My buddy is going to share on interview standing there on the tee with Tiger Woods when Tiger Woods shot his very first hole-in-one on the PGA Tour, and my buddy was playing with him that day. It's a great story. Ask your buddy if I can get if I can cut the clip and sample it where it goes, "Well, we're waiting." All right.
So that's a good little tease of some things I got coming up. I have some other interviews that we're lining up for observations of the Hearse, and I want to I'm going to have some uncomfortable talks, but I want to have some talks that are very thought-provoking for funeral professionals and do something a little bit different than what you and Ryan do with Undertaking the Podcast.
Please, God,
and that's my right. That if you go and read my Sunday posts, they're about a multitude of different things. I don't just talk about funeral service. I talk about a lot of stuff, and I want you to think. You don't have to agree with what I say. I don't expect you to agree with everything that I say, but I want you to understand that at the end of the day, we're sometimes not as important as we think we are, and we're going to be forgotten about in 2 generations after we die. So why don't we try to do something to leave this world a little bit better place instead of all the infighting and stuff that we're doing?
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's been our observations, and look forward to more of your observations, Robert. Hey, good luck.
I appreciate you, buddy.
Hey, thanks. Hey, love you, pal. Take care.
Okay, take care.
See you, buddy. Bye.
A funeral will hold up in front of society the most noble, the most thoughtful, sensitive, caring, compassionate aspects of life. And you turn the mirror a little bit, and a funeral will also show you glaringly the selfish, cynical, unkind, insensitive, thoughtless side of life.
This is what my father will look like when he's dead, to myself. It was just like that. And then suddenly the tents all changed, and I said to myself, this is my father dead. That's how it happens.
The most special things you can have in a funeral, and the things that you'll always remember for families, are the things that actually don't cost any money.
Undertaking the podcast is brought to you in part by the Wilbert Group. The Wilbert Group offers a wide range of products and services that support funeral homes and cemeteries and their service to families. Building on its heritage since 1880 as the innovative leader in burial vaults, the Wilbert network of nearly 300 facilities throughout the United States and Canada can help funeral service providers meet the needs of both burial and cremation families. The combined strength of the Wilbert network and rigorous quality controls over the fabrication of Wilbert burial vaults is unparalleled in the industry and ensures product quality and consistency no matter where you are located. For more information on Wilbert burial vaults and other products, or to locate a Wilbert provider in your area, visit wilbert.com and click on the Funeral Professionals banner on their homepage.